So, Agatha All Along has concluded, and honestly, I just don't know what this is supposed to do for the universe, for the MCU. The last two episodes were at least enjoyable, but the very last one, it's borderline unnecessary and should have been in different parts of the show. So, episode 8 focuses on the last trial. We find out that the guy who put the bonding spell on Jen actually got it from Agatha, and she got her. She did an unbinding spell on Agatha to get her powers back. Billy has now gone ahead and bound Tommy to a body, and now Death wants both Billy and Tommy to surrender themselves because she can't do anything because they'll just jump to another body, which is a thing, right? Death and Billy fight, then Agatha and Death fight, but they both realize this is futile. Like, this is Death. They can't do shit about it. And yeah, they were just throwing force pushes at each other through houses and shit. It was just so weird. Until Agatha, gives Death a big old schmooch, a big old kiss, and dying for Billy to live, right? Great stuff, apparently, right? That they thought of this, right? So Billy goes home, realizes that a lot of his room had stuff that the road had, and we find out at the after the last episode shows us Agatha's life with Nicholas, her son, and how he dies, and how she used a song, with them going on the road, which is like the origins of the road song. How Agatha, after Nicholas dies, uses this song and the myth to create this whole road, this whole mythology, right? Of the road to trick witches into attacking her and getting their powers. It's just a big old twist that they show at the very end, which I kind of like. That all this was just a big old con. It was Agatha all along. Whoopee, right? So yeah, Agatha is now a ghost, reveals all this. Billy realizes his powers, his reality warping powers is the ones that caused the death of the one lady, I'm gonna just call her Kitty, Alice and Lilia, and he gets upset, tries to banish Agatha, then all of a sudden she's like, no, don't do it, I can't face my son, and on all this, right? But you're surely sending a lot of people to your son, which makes no fucking sense, but whatever, right? Then he decides not to banish her, and now they're a duo, right? And Agatha is now Billy's guide, and they are now trying to find Tommy. That's it. That's the fucking finale. God, man, like if this series was like 6 episodes, I'd be fine with this outcome. But this, like, this is what the whole series amounted to. This. What do we get from this series that truly elevated the universe and not just add tools for another director, writer, whatever to use later down the line? Probably shittily, right? We got Death. We got Billy and Tommy in the universe now. Name drop Mephisto, and that's really it. Yes, the adventure of Agatha All Along was okay at times, but depending on if you enjoyed the adventure or the characters, you either might hate the series or might not like the series. And I feel like most people might not like this, might not like the series because who the fuck cares about these characters, right? Who the fuck cares about Tommy and Billy besides, of course, Wanda? But at the same time, they're all these characters here are side characters, and I think that's the biggest problem here, right? That if you don't care about the journey in these characters, you probably won't care for the show or like it at all. These characters aren't like Spider-Man, Iron Man, Daredevil, Punisher, Blade, funny enough, Hulk, She-Hulk, even more funny enough. And Marvel, still fucked up on her end and many other characters. But either way, this show is filled with side characters, and at least there was some entertaining and interesting parts in here, unlike Wakanda Forever, in my opinion, right? So don't get me wrong, I like the show. It's okay. I see what they were going for, but damn, does it lead to basically fucking nothing truly interesting. Agatha dies and becomes a ghost. Who the fuck cares, right? If they had just made the show a tad bit more shorter and changed some things around and focused a lot, like I mean a lot, on the fact that Agatha is wanted by Death and other more powerful parties and so on and so forth, it could have led to something more interesting in the end, but they didn't, right? There are genuine parts I liked and others I just didn't give a fuck about. It's just a big old mixed bag of likes and dislikes for me. And like I just didn't I just didn't care much for what was going on truly. Besides some of the story bits in here and there. Like if they had tried to make it more interesting, like witch wise, using Mephisto and Death more, it could have been really fucking interesting. Hell, imagine if fucking Darkheart showed up. That would have been fucking sick. And I genuinely do like some of the conversations between, some of the characters, like that had more weight, more shade thrown around. And this is because their quote unquote coven is supposed to be, united and all this and that. But deep down, they just don't truly trust each other. And, at points when they do care for each other, it becomes more evident. It becomes more shown and more interesting in that way when you see actual care and genuine concern for each other, which is pretty nice. However, we didn't get much time learning much about these characters, and we see how they're, I guess, likable, but we didn't learn much about them besides Lilia. I loved Lilia's whole backstory and everything they set up with her. Pretty cool shit, right? I definitely do feel like the first episode should have been Billy trying to discover who Agatha is after waking up in a random's body and living with his parents for 2 years. He would dive into the witching world, the rumors, and try to find Agatha and, connect Agatha to what's going on. And, he would eventually find Agatha, who's being taken care of by the locals. She is a witch, but she also was stuck in the realities Wanda warped the whole town into. So the town was like, we might as well take care of her while Agatha is in a comatose state, thanks to Wanda. Agatha will be reliving painful memories until Billy breaks the curse with the help of Rio, who later is revealed to be Death, of course, right? And, she would actually be, quote unquote, concerned about the situation when in actuality, she was waiting for the spell to actually kill her and was enjoying Agatha slowly dying every day, right? So it's in character. It's in character. I feel like that would be a more interesting first episode. Second episode would be everybody coming together to join the road and so on and so forth. And we all know at this point that Agatha was just going to use the road to get the witches to attack her and get their power and so on. And, continue on with his con until Billy would actually create the road. Episode 3 would essentially be, Jen's whole storyline, but with the added bonus of seeing more about how she was bound and more of her story and so on and so forth. I kind of like Jen in this story, but all she did really was just complain all the time. And I would like to see, more background stuff with her and, how she got bound and, more of her origins and stuff to make her more interesting. And that would be episode 3. Episode 4 would have Alice be essentially, episode 4 would essentially be with just Alice and would essentially be the same. But Rio would recognize the demon attached to Alice would be a sort of demon created by Mephisto or just a demon from Mephisto's legion. And Rio would later ask if Alice knew the origins of the demon attacking her family, and she would explain that an ancestor of hers made a bet with Mephisto generations before and, lost. And this would cause Mephisto to curse the family line forever to have rights over their souls. And when they die, they would go to him, and the demon is just there to help expedite the process, which makes a lot of fucking sense to me, at least. I wish it was like that, but it was never really explained how the generational curse was there, but whatever, right? Rio, knowing Mephisto because she is fucking Death, also knows that Agatha also went back on a deal in the past and is on his shit list. So now the demon will most likely vanish and go back to hell and most likely tell Mephisto where both Alice and Agatha and even Death may be. So that could have been a much more interesting thing there in the show, right? The next episode would be Agatha's trial, in which Agatha must try to convey her innocence in a trial being run by her coven, And all her sins are being seen, and this episode would have others see what Agatha went through with the Salem Coven, that her mother ran while trying to kill her, and also just show all the witches that Agatha has killed. But this would also show Agatha and Nicholas' life together, with Agatha using him to kill witches and supporting him, but conveniently leaving out Rio until it was time for Nicholas to pass on, and it's revealed Rio is death, and everyone turns to, look at her like, what the fuck? But she is no longer there, or she has like the half skull face or whatever. I didn't really like that. I would rather have the full skull face here and there, but for the first reveal, half skull face is fine, but I would have really liked the full on skull face. That's just me, right? Um, yeah, so this would show a lot of like Nicholas and Agatha's past, and how they created the song for the road, which got popular, and when Nicholas would pass, would become a con for Agatha to use against other witches, and this would be revealed to everyone, and cause a whole fuck ton of confusion and chaos, of course. So in this confusion, the group just sort of reluctantly chooses to make Agatha innocent to get through with the trial, while also feeling, pretty mixed feelings about her life and what they would have done in her place and so on. And when, the trial does end, a demon sent by Mephisto would show up and attack the coven and would kill Alice, bringing her down the hell, shocking the whole coven, causing them to wonder, why? Well, what's going on here? But Agatha, being Agatha, would seem unshocked, and Billy would take notice. Agatha would confirm that it was probably a demon sent by Mephisto, and probably for her, or maybe for Alice, for breaking the curse, and this would anger Billy, who knows Agatha enough to know she is hiding something, and finally uses his powers in anger to throw her off the road, using the others and throwing the others into the road, right? Or off the road, which at the same time, in the actual show, why? Like, you were cool with him, like, why would you do this? Like, it's just weird, it's stupid. Then we would get to my favorite episode, that I would honestly really change nothing, but use the time that Agatha and Billy are arguing to reveal the deal Agatha went back on, a deal to give up the most important thing in her long life if she loses, and Lady Death is there to witness the deal, in which Agatha does lose, but through this, she would get closer to Lady Death and have a relationship with her, half genuine, half worried she would help stop the effects of Mephisto's deal by, nullifying it or giving her time, or etc., which she would do, give her time, which would also piss off Mephisto, which, it's granted. Imagine going ahead and having a due date for your set item and having it be prolonged for years. I'd be annoyed. But after this episode would end, we would have the episode where they would actually, quote unquote, reach the end of the road. Agatha would already confront Rio on her interest in Billy and Tommy, saying that they're abominations, and offers a deal with Agatha, their lives in exchange for hers. And after the deal, the group would be in that sort of sunroom or whatever, where in episode 8, Jen would get her magic power back. Agatha would help Billy put Tommy in a body. And this is probably my most favorite part of this episode. And I wouldn't really change it. It was actually pretty interesting. And, I would genuinely just keep that part of the episode in here. And honestly, I just make this like the final episode, where Agatha, left alone in this room, will be ripped out of the room by the agent of Mephisto, who would come to claim Agatha's life at Mephisto's demand, after she tried to get out of the deal, or try, finagling her way out of it by trying to seduce Death, which she did, but, not enough to warrant stopping the whole deal entirely. Death and this agent of Mephisto would battle, but because the demon isn't strong enough, Mephisto would take over his body momentarily to fight Death. Seeing no way out, Agatha would offer her life in exchange for Billy's and Tommy's life, which, is a decent redemption, right? Mephisto would be intrigued by the deal, as Mephisto had no knowledge such a thing was happening, because Death kept him out of the loop when it came to Billy and Tommy. And Death would take the deal, and both of them would kiss. I wouldn't change that, honestly. And Agatha would pass on. Mephisto would leave, intrigued that the Scarlet Witch's children are in play, and would, truly enjoy having Billy as acolyte or something, and leaves to plan more plans, as Mephisto would do, right? The show would end with Billy coming home and, meeting his quote unquote parents and making sure that they know that he's okay, but also telling them that he's not their son, that he's somebody else, that he needs to go. And he would leave with Agatha's locket like wrapped around his neck, and he would go to where the entrance of the quote unquote road is, and he would turn it into a memorial for those who had been lost and go out to look for Tommy. So yeah, that's something I feel like would have been much more interesting. But granted, if I had the choice, I really wouldn't have made the series at all. It really does not truly elevate the MCU. And yes, sometimes you can just make a show that doesn't elevate but entertain. But the problem is that the show, maybe 50% of the time, is entertaining. The only characters I truly remember is probably Agatha, Billy, and Lilia, and that's because of her wonderful episode. In a few days, I'm not even going to remember a majority of the show besides Lady Death, Billy and Tommy being back, and maybe Agatha being a fucking ghost. Does that sound like a great way? Does that sound like a great way for a show to be remembered, right? The show fails to be impactful. It fails to be entertaining enough to warrant continuous attention, like the Penguin show. And also keep in mind, check that out, really good show. And yeah, it's not something I think at least should have been full force. It should have at least gone full force. I mean, having Mephisto and other crazy shit going on, there wasn't even that much horror or much horror at all. Like, what the fuck? It's fucking Halloween. Like come on, seriously. If you got scared of the Exorcist stuff and the demon stuff, I don't know what to tell you, Chief. I wanted it to be at least much scarier than what we got. But alas, it's fucking Disney, right? I do think they could have made like the show shorter, more compact, more interesting. Even the last episode could have been used as a way to enrich the other episodes, to truly understand what Agatha went through, and how she used the road, and how it was a con, and just have it to be revealed in a very intriguing, interesting moment for sure. And something that would be like the talk of the town, quote unquote, for the series midway, which could have been really interesting, but we didn't get that. We didn't get that. But I don't hate the show. It has its moments. The music was good. Some of the tension was alright. The dialogue wasn't always Marvel fucking vomit speak. And the ending was just, underwhelming, but it gave tools to maybe for a more experienced and better writer to use later down the line. Agatha dies. Wonderful. Now it's Billy's time to shine, I guess. I honestly couldn't give a damn. Honestly, like I liked Billy. I like Tommy. I liked how Billy put Tommy in a body. Eventually, we'll go ahead and be with him again. But that's something I wouldn't want a whole show about, because I'd rather see Billy and Tommy reunite with their mother, and that's it. Case closed. Like, if something happens, we can count on both Billy and Tommy to help out the mom, or vice versa, right? That's just how I feel. The whole show, I honestly feel like it's a 5 out of 10. The show isn't a complete waste of fucking time, but it had potential to dive into the more darker stuff, but really didn't. And the ending was just underwhelming. Half the cast I didn't really much care for, and some of the scenes and scenarios were just useless or uninteresting. And say for example, the whole cop shtick in the first episode, not interesting. Rio taking Alice to hell or whatever for like those last like 2 minutes in the final episode, I'm pretty sure. Who the fuck cares, right? Billy trying to banish Agatha, then saying fuck it, like why? Like who the fuck cares? It's a waste of time. The show wants to be dramatic and interesting, but at certain points it does work, but in others the scene or scenario isn't important, and then that just makes the drama just unimportant and unnecessary. And yeah, that's really all I really think of the show. Tell me your thoughts and opinions on the show. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching the video. Thanks for the support. And I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs. That would be fucking incredible. I'm not expecting it to happen before like the next year, but it's a goal. It's a goal. And with that being said, I hope you guys are okay. Stay safe and healthy mentally, emotionally, and physically. See you guys later. Thanks for watching. Peace.